In nameless hamlets like this every week of the war. They are called firefights. And in the grand strategy of things, this firefight had little meaning for anyone but the red-headed kid who was killed here.
Express 626. This is 26. I got another body here. If you can get somebody in to pick it up.
Boy, those bullets are close. How many men are wounded there? So they just brought in that gun. Maybe a few minutes before they get a chance to use it. And now suddenly it started to rain. These summer monsoon rains that hit in a flash and leave just as fast. They're working on him, trying to save his life. See that shrapnel. They're giving him artificial respiration. The medevac split couldn't get in. There's too much heavy fire. Trying to start his heart beating again. These frantic efforts were to no avail. The wounded man was dead. It's amazing in a situation like this how much you can hear and how little you can see. Everybody's flat on their face in the grass. Can't see a thing. No smoke, no flames, no nothing. But it sounds like the whole world's exploding around you.
These men, the survivors of Bravo Company, told Robert Shackney what had happened.
The roughest part was when it first started, the ground attack, the mortar attack, and they were hitting us with rockets, all three at the same time. We had to get our stuff together and fight back. We didn't have any positions dug in. All we could do was fight right on the ground behind trees, behind rucksacks, and everything else. We did a good job.
Did they ever get in your perimeter?
At one time, they were about 10 meters outside. We stacked up the bodies, and there they lay.
This is the man here that did most of the work yesterday.
And you are?
Sergeant Ortiz.
Wait, somebody else tell me what Sergeant Ortiz did.
Sergeant Ortiz, all of our men were pinned down, so Sergeant Ortiz was down on a machine gun. And he helped me where I get all my men back and all 6 Zeros men back and all 5 9s men back. And he stayed down on the machine gun until everybody was back, standing up in the open, I might say, firing down on the NVA, and then ran back to our lines while we supported him.
I'd like to add something to that. He also sat down behind a log in front of our line, had men behind our line toss hand grenades to him so that he could throw them down further and get them right on the enemy.
Sergeant, when you did all that, why?
I don't know.
Imagine if people have hatred embedded for generations.
If anything could go wrong, you had to expect it to go wrong. So as the officer, I had to have a plan, a backup plan, a backup plan. But yet you had to be prepared to go off script at any time because things would come up.
You could walk outside to take the kids to school and be kidnapped. Sometimes you'd get them back, others you wouldn't. And even if you did get them back, and they looked the same on the outside, the inside was always different, and the family would be different. You wouldn't know if they were alive or dead for weeks.
I was in hot and humid, cold and rainy, and hot and dry climates. We all were always tired, but still functioned as trained.
Watching the other people running around without protection was difficult.
You're not told when you do something correctly, but are punished for not doing something correctly. A pat on the back meant you did not have to do extra PT or have a guy shooting in your face, or shouting in your face.
The snow in North Korea would pile up so that you had to dig to get out the front door.
Baby formula that rotted the teeth. Having stone soup by placing rocks and stones in boiling water just for the hope of some flavor. Bread that had 50% sawdust as filler, and you were lucky to get even that.
It was hard enough to get water into you regardless of the outside temperatures. I was in hot and humid, cold and rainy, and hot and dry climates. Headaches were common with all of us.
If you had more than 50 acres, they took everything.
Hitler talked were like barking of an angry dog.
Prisoners would have to bury other prisoners.
Bombardment for 5 years, normally with sirens warning that bombs are coming.
Instead of gas chambers, Soviets would put potential threats in the back of a makeshift van and pump the exhaust into it until everyone inside died.
They wanted to give an example, so they would kill the whole family, not just the culprit.
make lamps from skin, soap from fat, hair from mattresses, gold teeth for decorations.
We had to learn different methods of killing in our Polish class, such as a mother with a child meets an SS, and they would take the baby by the leg, smash it, and they would smash the baby with their boots.
Forgiving heals yourself.
Imagine if people have hatred embedded for generations.
I had never seen my dad laughing or smiling. We just didn't laugh. I never made close friends.
I was never approved of or told, "You're okay." We never learned how it was to love or to be loved.
We hear all the correction in our actions, and it wounds us. It makes us think the way we are is wrong.
We were all so wounded. It seemed like the whole world was wounded.
Everybody was wounded and sad and afraid to trust each other. Kids had no time with their parents.
So many wars, so many horrible things that people were very wounded and very scared.
I sure as hell didn't know where I was going, and neither did they.
There were points of boredom in trying to stay alert, and times of massive everything happening at once. Keeping everybody upbeat and on task wasn't easy.
Watching the other people running around without protection was difficult for a guy who considered himself in the military.
So many wars, so many horrible things that people were very wounded and very scared.
Kids would be laughing and I would be thinking, what are they doing? That's when I decided that it doesn't matter what happens. I will do everything and give my life so something like these horrors will never happen. So that hatred and action will never exist.
We learned that we need to take care of other people and have respect. And it doesn't matter who it is. The key is respect. It doesn't make you a better human being to have nice cars, clothes, or things.
Everything relates. You have to let the bad memories go so that you can focus more on the good.
Sometimes these things cause your heart to freeze. At the same time, some people think,
I have to help.
Forgiving.
Wow. Imagine if people have hatred embedded for generations.
I had never seen my dad laughing or smiling. We just didn't laugh. I never made close friends.
I was never approved of or told, "You're okay." We never learned how to love or to be loved.
We hear all the corrections in our actions, and it wounds us. It makes us think that the way we are is wrong.
We were all so wounded. It seemed like the whole world was wounded.
Everybody was wounded and sad and afraid to trust each other. Kids didn't have time with their parents.
So many wars, so many horrible things, that people were very wounded and very scared.
I sure as hell didn't know where I was going, and neither did they.
There were points of boredom and trying to stay alert, and times of mass everything happening at once. Keeping everybody upbeat and on task wasn't easy.
Watching the other people running around without protection was difficult for a guy who considered himself in the military.
So many wars, so many horrible things, that people were very wounded and very scared.
Kids would be laughing and I would be thinking, what are they doing? That's when I decided that it doesn't matter what happens. I will do everything and give my life so something like these horrors will never happen again, so that hatred and action will never exist.
We learned that we need to take care of other people and respect. And it doesn't matter who it is. The key is respect. It doesn't matter make you a better human being, have nice cars, clothes, or things.
Everything relates. You have to let the bad memories go so that you can focus more on the good.
Sometimes these things can cause your heart to freeze. But at the same time, some people will think,
I have to help. Forgiving heals yourself.
Basically, you didn't make plans. You go where you're needed.
Leadership played an incredible role. The ability to have people do what needed to be done, with input when there was time to accept it, and without question when time was non-existent.
I realized that the training I had gone through really did set itself into your entire being.
The way we all learned to help each other out there has helped us to rely on each other and survive when we were old or weak or injured. We had to come together and work like a family just to survive.
Reminders of cherished memories help you to open up and go back to everything. One thing that helped me a lot is no matter what you're doing, ask yourself, is this the loving thing to do?
We have to help each other.
We're not perfect, but we need to make sure to not hurt on purpose.
The basics was learning to share and learning to give up everything and learning to let the bad things go and learning to forgive.
The goodness comes out, but many people hide the heart.
Helping others may be a sacrifice, but it helps us all.
Forgiving heals yourself.
Without the war, we would never have made it to where we are now.
After 15 years of not diving, I automatically and totally without thinking inspected everything, assembled it, tested it, and set it up for instant use. This was my wow moment that the negative training techniques I was not happy about while in the military truly did work.
As miserable as it was, I'm still thankful for living through that. Without it, I wouldn't be where I am, with the family I have. My mom wouldn't have even met my dad, and we would have never come to America.
What's important isn't what was or what will be, but what we have right now.
We have to help each other. Husbands and wives refinding each other after thinking they were dead for decades.
I always think of others when I'm getting things or make money. I always set aside things for others, and when I do, I suddenly find an abundance in my life.
We would find odd things to laugh at, and when near exhaustion, we would really find anything funny.
If we weren't trying to always be kind, we weren't fulfilling our mission.
We learned to divide among people what is needed for each person.
Our goal is to forgive, but not to forget, so we won't go back to something like that again.